Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Anupama, Professor at Department of Economics, Punjabi University, Patiala. I am here talking on behalf of Dr. Phalinder Kumar Sudan, Professor, Department of Economics, University of Jammu. I am going to talk about the module Population and Climate Change from Demography of Climate Adaptation. So students, we are going to discuss about implications of fertility, mortality and migration on emissions growth. The rapid population growth is widely recognized as one of the factors influencing growth of greenhouse gas emissions. The fertility decline has been influenced by education, gender equality, access to reproductive health and family planning services. A deeper understanding of the emissions implication of population size, age, structure, household size and urbanization should be incorporated into climate change policy decision making and strategies for climate change mitigation and adaptation. It has been recognized that the climate change is one of the most serious challenges facing human society. The greenhouse gas emissions are expected to warm the Earth's surface. It may cause rising sea levels, changes in patterns of precipitation, heat waves, drought, flooding, and storm surges. These climate events have severe consequences for both human and ecosystems. It is very difficult to estimate the full impact of climate change due to uncertain Earth's physical and environmental system. The changes in emissions and its environmental impacts will be affected by further development patterns around the world. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC report, Special Report on Emission Scenario, that is SRES, had explored the factors influencing emissions. It has been understood that population size influences global GHG emissions. But the real question is how demographic factors influence future climate change. So, this module aims to answer the questions: what are the implications of fertility, mortality, and migration on emissions growth? What are the implications of changes in population size on emissions? How major demographic trends affect emissions? What are the demographic impacts on emissions growth? Let us discuss about the strengths and weaknesses of SRES. Big question is, what are the strengths and weaknesses of SRES? The answer to this question is very vital to frame strategies for effectively addressing climate change. All population projections used in the SRES include the assumption of the large declines in fertility over the next century. The population policies play a significant role in solutions to climate change. According to the IPCC and its assessment reports, the main driving forces of future greenhouse gas trajectories will continue to be demographic change and social and economic development. The population size influences global greenhouse gas emissions. The role of demographics is complex and involves significant uncertainty of technological change. In late 1980s, the United Nations established the IPCC to assess and synthesize the state of scientific thinking on human-induced climate change. The IPCC has 3 standing working groups for periodic assessments. The Working Group 1 assesses the physical science of climate systems. The Working Group 2 assesses the vulnerability of societies and natural systems to climate change impacts. The Working Group 3 assesses opinions to mitigate the climate change. The first IPCC assessment report was published in 1990. It formed the basis for negotiation of the 1992 United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It is also termed as UNFCCC. The second assessment report, published in 1995, provided input for the negotiations of the Kyoto Protocol in 1997. The Kyoto Protocol is an addition to the UNFCCC treaty. The third assessment report in 2001 is a legal binding agreement to reduce GHG emissions in industrialized countries. The fourth assessment report was released in 2007, which provides scientific evidence to the occurrence of climate change due to human activities. In recent decades, research in climate change has accelerated dramatically. Using a range of possible climate futures, scientists can project impacts of climate change on natural and human systems. Emissions scenarios project alternative paths of greenhouse gas emissions into the future. The emissions scenarios have become much more sophisticated over time. It increasingly impacts socioeconomic, demographic, and technological change throughout the world. IPCC has produced 3 sets of scenarios. The first one is the 1990 Scientific Assessment, that is SA90, with 4 scenarios. The second one is the IPCC Scenarios 1992 with 6 scenarios. And the third one is the 2000 SRES with 40 quantitative scenarios. The SRES, published in 2000, present future emissions from different pathways of demographic, socioeconomic, and technological development. The 2000 SRES scenarios cover the period from 1990 to 2100. It acknowledged the uncertainties involved in projections over such a lengthy period. The scenarios address uncertainties about human activity, including population dynamics, economic development, and the technological change. The SRES scenarios represent an improvement over the IS92 scenarios. The SRES also includes projections of economic development and the rates of technological change. Now we can discuss about the qualitative and quantitative aspects. The SRES scenarios have both qualitative and quantitative aspects. They described the relationship between population and emission and their impact on climate change. There are 4 storylines and associated families of scenarios, that is A1, A2, B1 and B2. The A scenarios place more emphasis on economic growth and the B scenarios place more emphasis on environmental protection. The 1 scenarios assume greater globalization and the 2 scenarios show a more regional, less connected world. This can be observed from table 1. All scenarios show a world that becomes more affluent than it is today. By 2100, world domestic product estimates range from 10 to 26 times higher than these were in 1990. Now let us discuss about adverse effects of climate change. The major adverse effects of climate change include heat waves, water stress, sea level rise and extreme weather, loss of agriculture productivity and spreading of vector-borne diseases. Let us talk about the heat waves. Human population is directly affected by higher temperatures. Increasing temperatures may lead to increases in cardiovascular diseases. Higher temperatures increase the concentration of ozone at ground level. This damages lung tissues and adversely affects people with asthma and other respiratory diseases. Heat waves may also lead to increased mortality. In Europe, heat wave caused about excess deaths. In United States, people die from heat 2 times more than that from cold. Within the A1 family of scenarios, there are 3 groups of scenarios. These are A1F1, A1T and A1B with similar development pathways but very different projected energy use. The A1F1 scenarios are fossil fuel intensive. The A1T scenarios are non-fossil fuel intensive. The A1B group is balanced across sources. The technological change is important in pathways of future emissions. Besides demographic and socio-economic factors, different patterns of technology and resource use can result in different levels of emissions. The fossil-intensive A1F1 scenario leads to the highest carbon dioxide emissions of all the scenarios. The alternative energy emphasis of the A1T results in comparatively the lowest carbon dioxide emissions. In contrast, storyline A2 assumes a more heterogeneous world with regional differences in development, slower and more fragmented economic growth, and slower technological change. The storyline A2 also assumes higher population growth, with global population reaching 15 billion by 2100, over twice the projection of the A1 storyline. Under this scenario, total fertility rates, that is, the number of children the average woman has in her lifetime, will decline in various regions. But global fertility remains above replacement level by the end of the century. The A2 storyline has largely negative environmental implications. In this scenario, the forest cover continues to decline through 2100 and carbon dioxide emissions continue to grow. With high population growth, there will be slower increases in agricultural productivity. There will be higher nitrous oxide and methane emissions from land use. There will be shift in energy away from oil and gas to coal. There will be a moderate increase in non-fossil energy sources. There will be much slower economic growth in the A2 storyline. This results in medium to high emissions under this storyline. In storyline B1, income gaps between rich and poor countries are reduced. This happens due to rapid economic change, and shifts to an information and service economy. The population projection is same as A1, that is 8.7 billion people by 2050, which will decline to 7 billion by 2100. There is extensive use of clean and resource efficient technology due to widespread technology transfer and improved economic equity. There will be decline in carbon dioxide emissions from loss of forest cover because population declines and agricultural productivity increases. The renewable and nuclear sources will be dominant sources of energy. The carbon emissions will be at the lowest end of the range of SRES scenarios. Under storyline B2, localized solutions to sustainability are dominant. The world is experiencing a continuously growing population along with intermediate development and technological change. The population is projected to 10.4 billion people by 2100. The B2 storyline describes a more equitable world with more environmental protection, and about half of the world's energy comes from non-fossil fuels and rest from coal, oil and gas. The emission levels under this scenario span an intermediate range. Now we can discuss emissions from SRES scenario. By 2100, total cumulative carbon dioxide emission is estimated in the range of 700 to 2540 gigatons. The different driving forces, that is demographic, development and technological change, can result in different emission levels. No single driver is a determining factor of emissions. For instance, more equitable economic development can lead to high or low emissions. Keeping economic and demographic changes constant, different shifts in technology resulted in very different emissions outcomes. Thus, all driving forces should be considered when developing mitigation strategies. Now we can discuss about population projections and the SRES. Population projections are the backbone of greenhouse gas emissions scenarios. The SRES scenarios utilize three population projections. These are number 1, IISA projections under storylines A1, A2 and B1. The IISA variants were chosen as the high and low population projections for the SRES. The full population projection is between 6.7 and 15.6 billion by 2100. The factors contributing to population growth are fertility, mortality and migration for the period 2030 to 2035. These factors were extended to 2080 to 2085 and held constant up to 2100. In IIASA's low variant projections, the world average fertility rates fall from 2.81 in 1995-2000 to 1.39 in 2100. This drop is highly significant in sub-Saharan Africa from 5.87 to 1.44. Now let us talk about various characteristics of the SRES storylines and scenarios. The A1 storyline and family of scenarios is characterized by a low population and rapid economic growth. The world population is likely to increase to 8.7 billion by 2050, which then declines to 7 billion by 2100. There will be low fertility in Europe. The fertility would fall from 5.9 in 2000 to 1.8 to 2050 in sub-Saharan Africa. The A1 storyline projects the development and adoption of new efficient technologies with greater cultural and social interaction, and a reduction in the gap between incomes in developed and the developing countries. The UN Medium Projection Storyline B2. Storyline B2 is based on localized solutions to sustainability. In this case, fertility stabilizes at replacement level of 2.1. The world population grows from 5.7 billion in 1995 to 9.4 billion in 2050 and 10.4 billion in 2100. Population continues to grow before stabilizing at 11 billion in 2200. This population projection assumes an increase in population size in all areas of the world except Europe. There will be a dramatic drop in fertility in the less developed regions, particularly Africa, and increases in fertility rates in North America, Europe, and China. Besides fertility, the other factors contributing to population growth and change are mortality and migration patterns. The mortality is projected to decline in all regions, with life expectancy projected to accelerate faster in the areas currently experiencing higher mortality. The gap in life expectancy between more and less developed countries narrows from 13 years in 1995 to less than 4 years by 2150. The global life expectancy increases worldwide by 21 years from 62.2 years and 66.5 years for men and women respectively in 1995 to 83.4 years for men and 88.2 years for women in 2150. The dramatic changes in fertility lead to dramatic population aging worldwide by 2150. The significant shift in population composition is expected to have implications for energy use. Updates to the UN and IISA projections. According to UN 2004 updated and refined population projections, the world population under the medium projection reaches 8.9 billion in 2050, peaks at 9.2 billion in 2075, and falls to 9.1 in 2100. This is significantly lower than the 1998 projection included in the B2 storyline, in which global population reaches 9.3 billion in 2050 and 10.4 in 2100. It is assumed that fertility will fall below replacement levels and then increase again to stabilize at replacement level. The less developed countries are projected to undergo the most dramatic demographic changes, with fertility falling from 3.1 currently to 2.04, which is below replacement level by 2050. According to UN 2004 Long Range population projection, migration falls to zero after 2050. The migration prevents a more rapid decline in population growth rates in developed countries because they are projected to continue to receive immigrants from other countries. Life expectancy will range between 87 and 106 years in 2300. It is to be noted that all these population trends have potential implications for greenhouse gas emissions trends. For use in the SRES storylines A1 and B1, IIASA modified their population projections from 8.5 billion in 2050 and 6.5 billion in 2100 to 8.7 billion in 2050 and 7.1 billion in 2100. This was made to project more rapidly decreasing mortality rates in developing regions and more rapid economic growth in industrialized and developing countries. The increases in life expectancy under this scenario were still dramatic, increasing from 65.4 years in 2000 to 84.3 years in 2100. The A2 storyline, marked by slower and more fragmented economic growth and technological change. Water stress. Climate change significantly affects precipitation patterns. In the last 100 years, annual precipitation has increased in large areas of the northern hemisphere. It has declined significantly in subtropical southern Asia and sub-Saharan Africa. By 2050, 5 billion people are likely to be living in water-stressed countries. The problem of water shortages is likely to be exacerbated by climate change. Due to global warming, many glaciers are retreating. The retreating of glaciers causes landslides, flash floods, and glacial lake overflows, and increase in the annual variation of water flows in rivers. These changes in the hydrological cycles are likely to affect availability of water in future. Sea level rise. The melting of glaciers and ice sheets and thermal expansion has caused sea level rise. The sea level has risen at an average 1.7 millimeter per year since 1900. Since 1993, the annual rising rate has increased to about 3 mm. The sea level will rise from 22 centimeters to 38 centimeters between 1990 and the 2080s at about 4 mm per year. The rise in sea level is projected to increase salt water intrusion into groundwater. It can also cause other environmental damage in the low elevation coastal zones. The effects of sea level rise are significant because of the concentration of population and economic activities on and near coastlines. In view of increasing coastal population, sea level rise and extreme weather events are likely to adversely affect an estimated 20% of the population in developing countries. Agricultural production loss. The climate change will surely have damaging effects on agriculture productivity in the tropics and the subtropics. The agriculture production around the globe appears stable. However, regional differences in crop production are expected to grow over time. It will lead to a significant polarization effect with continuous crop production increase in developed countries and decrease in the developing countries. According to UN's medium population projection, by 2080, substantial loss in agricultural production and an increase in the prices of crops due to climate changes will put an additional 90 to 125 million people in the poor nations into the risk of hunger. Spreading of vector-borne diseases. Global warming has resulted in vectors transmitting diseases such as malaria and dengue fever in less developed countries. The richer countries may felt more consequences in economic than health terms due to disease control measures such as vaccination, draining swamps, and pesticide use. By 2020, health impacts attributed to climate change includes deaths due to malnutrition, diarrhea, malaria, and floods. By 2030, the number of deaths due to diarrhea, malaria, and malnutrition will increase by 3%, 5%, and 10% respectively. So students, let us sum up what we have learned from this module. To sum up, we can say that the rapid population growth is one of the factors contributing to climate change. The influences of demographic factors on emissions are significant. A better analysis of demographic implications on emissions is required. This should take into account the implications of population size, age structure, household size, and urbanization on climate change scenarios. This is necessary for policy planning and decision making and strategy development for climate change mitigation and adaptation. That's all with this lecture. I hope you must have enjoyed it. Thank you.